All right, we're gonna wait for just a few more people to show up before we gavel in. Senator West, before we get started, though, I want to say that was a fantastic, those are fantastic remarks. So thank you for that. That was great. Look at that. And we might even have time for a dad joke or two. Artemis 2.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're on. No. All right. Let's think about this. Well, you've all heard the how do people in NASA prepare for a party? You've heard that one before, right? Mm-hmm. They plan it. All right, I got one laugh. All right, and you've heard the other one about the restaurant on the moon.
Restaurant on the moon.
Yeah. Great food, no atmosphere. All right, that's good. All right. All right. If you work for NASA, how do you get your baby to go to sleep?
Rockets.
You rock it. Oh, okay. If you drive a Subaru backwards, what are you?
A conservative.
You're a bus. Subaru backwards, you're a bus.
So,
My friend Tony said, never say his name backwards. I said, why not?
fulfill last week's discussion, where do polar bears keep their species?
Where are they?
In the snowbank.
Oh. There's a guy named Amal and Juan. They're identical twins. Their mother only kept one picture of them in her wallet. Because if you've seen Juan, you've seen Amal. Oh. No? All right. All right, that was a tough crowd. Get one more senator, or else the jokes are going to continue to come. Spared you from more jokes. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Judicial Proceedings Committee. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2026. Happy Sani Dai. We're on voting list number 28. But before we do that, we're going to do some concur, not concurs. I'm going to start off with Josh.
Senate Bill 791, as passed by the Senate. The bill prohibits local correctional facilities from taking certain actions related to immigration enforcement. The bill also requires state correctional facilities to give certain notice to federal immigration authorities before the release of specified individuals. The House amendments made 5 separate changes. First, they changed the term covered individual in the bill to instead be convicted individual. The substantive definition remains the same. They take a prohibition that the Senate bill placed only on local correctional facilities, specifically the prohibition on coercing or threatening an individual based on their perceived citizenship or real immigration status. They made that apply to both local correctional facilities and state correctional facilities. They clarified that the required notice from a state correctional facility to federal immigration authorities does not have to be in writing, so it could be through a phone call. They add a clause stating that the provisions of the bill are severable, which is generally presumed, but occasionally the General Assembly puts express language in the bill to that effect. And finally, the House made the bill an emergency measure.
All right, so there's a motion to concur. Seconded.
So moved.
All right. Is everyone okay? All right, excellent. Who's got next?
Is everybody
Is everyone okay with the concurrence? All right. Yeah, same. I mean, it's what he just described, so they made those minor amendments, but,
So it's not the same.
so it's not the same.
Yeah.
But is it? Yeah, yeah.
Senator West, are you up or down?
Put it in the list.
You were down.
Mark me the same.
Okay.
You might as well go up on everything last year.
Yeah, right.
Go up.
Senator James, are you up or down on the concurrence?
Down.
I think you're down. Yeah.
Six,
6-3, all right. Who's got next?
Do you want to stick with
Josh, yeah.
345. Senate Bill 345, as passed by the Senate, the bill authorizes a dealer or manufacturer association to request an administrative hearing before the MVA to resolve a dispute between specified entities or seek clarification of the application of specified provisions of law. The House amendments further clarify the circumstances in which a dealer association may request a hearing. Under the House amendments, the dealer association may request the hearing only if at least one member of the association has a dispute with a manufacturer, the interests that the dealer seeks to protect are germane to the association's purpose, and the claim asserted and the relief requested do not require the participation of each individual member of the association.
There's a motion to concur. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? Yes.
Senate Bill 354, as passed by the Senate, the bill increases the minimum gross income amounts from charitable contributions at which a charitable organization must include a certain audit or review with its registration statement. The House amendments conform the bill to its cross-file, House Bill 483, which is already passed out of the Senate by altering the threshold for required review.
Motion to concur. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? Excellent.
Senate Bill 12 requires a landlord of residential units in apartment buildings with 10 or more individual dwelling units to provide air conditioning from June 1st through September 30th each year as specified. Unless otherwise exempted by the bill, landlords are to provide air conditioning in residential units beginning June 1st, 2026 for newly constructed units and beginning October 1st, 2026 for existing units that undergo renovation that includes the replacement or substantial upgrade of electrical systems or heating systems. The bill applies prospectively only and does not affect on or any application to any building construction or renovation for which the building permit is issued before the bill's effective date. The bill takes effect June 1st, 2026. The House removed the preemption provision that we had added to the Senate bill and adds a provision requiring that landlords provide air conditioning in units that after January 1st, 2025 equip their units with air conditioning or have a provision in the lease requiring that the landlord provide air conditioning. The cross-file House Bill 153 is in conference committee. So the motion would be to not concur. Okay.
So his motion's not to concur. Stick with the Senate
We already
product.
have,
Yes. Yes, 274 and 447 and 941. Okay. Senate Bill 247, as passed by the Senate, alters state statute related to housing discrimination to prohibit a person from acting in a manner that has a discriminatory effect. However, a person has not violated a prohibition in Section 20-705 if 1, the act was without discriminatory intent, the action was necessary to achieve one or more substantial, legitimate, or non-discriminatory interests, and 3, the person could not have achieved the substantial, legitimate, or non-discriminatory interests by less discriminatory means. As amended by the House, Senate Bill 274 is now in its original form without the amendments we added. There is a House conference appointed on the House bill, and that's delegates Ampry, Charkoudian, and Adams. And so the motion would be not to concur.
All right.
274.
Yeah. I think last week we concurred, but I think it was the will of the committee not to concur and stick with the Senate product and appoint a conference committee. So motion to reconsider the vote by which we concurred last week. Is everyone okay with that? Seconded. Great. Now the motion is not to concur. Seconded. Is everyone okay? All right. We'll appoint a conference committee shortly.
Okay, next, Senate Bill 447. Senate Bill 447 expands the circumstances under which a report or record concerning child abuse or neglect may be disclosed by the Department of Human Services to include the administrator of a certain child care center, the coach, team administrator, or manager of a certain youth sports program, and the administrator or other appropriate personnel of any organization that provides adult supervision or care and control of children. As amended by the House, the bill clarifies that the reports or records may be disclosed only to those parties for the purpose of determining the suitability of an individual for employment or voluntary service. The House cross-file HB 1326 was amended on the Senate floor to limit the disclosures that may be made under the bills to reports or record in which there has been a finalized finding of abuse or neglect, and that House bill is now past both chambers and is with the governor. So the motion would be not to concur.
Motion's not to concur. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay? I've been recording the affirmative. Excellent. Do you say that the House bill is now cleared both chambers?
Yes.
Okay.
Senator James had the amendment. Right.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. That was great. Okay.
Senate Bill 941. As amended, Senate Bill 941 requires the Office of Tenant and Landlord Affairs within the Department of Housing and Community Development, in collaboration with the Office of the Attorney General, to develop a plan to identify severe health and safety risk properties in the state, expand the structure of OTLA to address severe health and safety risk properties in the state, and 3, provide effective interventions to mitigate predatory, non-compliant, and negligent landlords of multi-unit rental properties in the state. The bill only applies to properties with 50 or more units. DHCD must submit the plan and recommendations to the governor and the General Assembly by August 31st, 2027. A related report is due by December 31st, 2027. The bill also requires DHCD to publish the list of severe health and safety risk properties on its webpage. The bill takes effect July 1st, 2026, and terminates December 31st, 2027. The House cross-file, HB 1218, is identical and is passed both chambers. So the motion would be to concur.
All right, there's been a second. Is everyone okay being recording the affirmative? Excellent. That's it? All right, great. We're now going to go on to voting list number 28.
I have one more. Go 5.
So House Bill 573, that is the cross-file to Senate Bill 274. And so we should not recede to the amendments.
Is everyone okay? Anything else?
I believe that's it.
Okay. We're now going to go on to voting list number 28. And we're going to start off, Shamari, with House Bill 1132.
House Bill 1132 makes various changes to provisions related to required disclosures to a purchaser for the resale of a unit within a condominium or a lot within a homeowners association. Among other provisions, the bill requires the seller to provide notice of certain changes in mandatory fees, payments, and other disclosures. 2, alters the fees a governing body for a condominium or HOA or its agent may charge for providing specified information. And 3, alters the deadline by which the purchaser must be given certain disclosures. There are no amendments.
All right, What's your pleasure? It's a motion for a favorable. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? Yes. All right. House Bill 1132 passes unanimously. We're now going to move on to House Bill 1222.
House Bill 1222 increases from $199,000 to $250,000 the annual salary of the Prince George's County State's Attorney. Pursuant to constitutional requirements, the salary increase takes effect at the beginning of the next term. In your voting packet, there is an amendment and a delegation letter of support to add the, just pull this up. Well, there should have been, would be to add Talbot County in as well. Hold on.
You got it.
Thank you. So this would provide that beginning in 2028, the County Council of Talbot County shall set the state's attorney's salary. There's also been a motion to add Senate Bill, the text from Senate Bill 533 to this bill. This would be the Frederick County Sheriff's salary, which this committee already passed earlier in the session. Would provide that in calendar year 26, Frederick County Sheriff would receive a salary of $125,000, which is its current rate. In 27, it would move to $175,000, and then in 28 and each subsequent calendar year would be 82.5% of the state's attorney for Frederick County's annual salary, including any increments and salary adjustments. And any change in salary paid to the state's attorney for Frederick County during the term of office of the sheriff may not apply during the sheriff's current term of office, but the changed rate would take effect at the beginning of the next following term of office. So it would be Talbot and Frederick.
All right, so I just want to move the amount, just at this late hour for a matter of just of efficiency, we just put these all together, everyone jumps together, you approve it up or down, they concur, then it's all good. All three jurisdictions get it. Sorry, go ahead, I want to make sure Senator Charles has an opportunity to speak.
I've been getting a lot of feedback from a lot of our Prince George's House delegation folks. I'm being told that if we move this bill with Frederick County Sheriff, they're going to kill the bill over on the House side, which is going to have a larger impact on our state's attorney. And I know, listen, we voted the bill out of committee. I supported the bill out of committee. But in the effort of having us run into the position where this can die, for my good friend over there, Senator Fold, and I'm not going to be able to support it with them killing it over there in the House for the amendment, yeah.
Senator Hughes.
Yeah, same thing. On the amendment, I can't support it, and the same reasons my colleague said. It's going to die, so why bother? That amendment is maybe it's a good bill for next year, and I'll support it, but I have to be against it. I'm asking my colleagues. This is a local bill. We've already taken care of it, and this is what the ask is from leadership in our county, and I hope that we respect that and kill this amendment.
Senator Gold.
Yeah, I love hearing about local bills and you know, you all working together and collaboratively, but the reality is Frederick County hasn't gotten the same liberty. We don't get that same concession. We don't get that same recognition for local bills that has bipartisan support in the Senate and the House. And this is about the mission and the role of the person. So, you know, I know the state's attorney in Prince George's County hasn't had a raise in, what, 14 years? Frederick County Sheriff's Office, the sheriff hasn't had a raise in 20. So this isn't about any one person. This is about the role and the responsibility therein and being able to attract and maintain and recruit good candidates to want to be in the office of the sheriff. And with that, I think it's a good vessel. And I think that, you know, they still have the opportunity in the House. If they want to vote it down, they don't have to vote it down. They can strip that amendment back out, and then it has to come back to the Senate. So they can either vote for it, or they can strip out the sheriff, and they can send it back over to the Senate, and we can then go to conference. But I would ask my colleagues in the recognition and my good seatmate here for local courtesy. If local courtesy is actually something we're supposed to be meaningful, then this is a prime example of how local courtesy only applies if you're on the supermajority party. And it's been 6 years in a row we've been trying to move this bill. And if it doesn't move this year, it's going to be 4 more years that we're going to have to move it. If it moves this year, we never have to visit the sheriff's office in Frederick County salary again because it's attached to a percentage of the state's attorney's bill. So we'll never have to visit it again. So, and with that, I would ask to move the amendment. Thank you.
And for my colleague, who's my best buddy down here, in Prince George's County, we've never opposed a local bill from Frederick. So that's not on us, and it should not be taken out on us, period. I've supported everything that Frederick has done. I cannot remember one time in my 16, 20 years, whatever it is, that I've been here, that's happened. So I would ask for that courtesy for our local bill, and then I'd be more than glad to come back and support whatever. Haven't I voted on, with you all, the Republicans, at least 50 times?
I guess you can do it one more time.
55 times.
I guess you just do it one more time.
So that's where we are on it.
Yeah, I'm going to fall in line with Senator Muse as well. We've always been supportive of the bills. When the bill has come to us, we voted the bill out. You know, we've showed that support and solidarity with you. Adding pieces to our bill that could clog it up and that could kill it, just don't think it's fair. So I'm going to ask that everyone in committee not support the amendment, and we can come back and we'll support your bill like we did every single year, and push it forward that way. But adding this on and going through this process as we're dealing with Sine Die, I don't think this is the proper time to do it.
I appreciate it. So, look, I'm fully appreciative, and I do all deference and respect. I mean, I just hate this position because this isn't a zero-sum thing. I mean, we can all win. You know, they accept it. Everyone can win. Everyone will get the proper salary increase. That this is not a. I hate that like the partisanship has been infused into it, or the geographical difference has been infused into it. This is actually just good policy across the board for everybody, and I don't want to kind of infuse the partisanship, and I also want to act in deference. You know, they're not trying to hijack your bill, right? But everyone can win here. Like, this isn't a zero-sum game. And so if there's an up or down just concurrence, then everyone wins. I would hate, I'm not even, you know, it's just, it pains me that it's getting to this, but Senator Muse.
I think the opposite was true. It's either pass or fail. This will kill the bill for sure. So I know anybody else. I know my county. I know what everyone's saying on the other side. I've been there on this. So no, this will kill the bill. So it's not a win-win. It's a lose-lose. And so, having said that, I'm voting no, and I'm asking all my colleagues who believe in that. What is a local bill? I'll never have anything to say on a local bill. Never have I done that. So I'm asking for the same courtesy here.
Move the motion. Move the amendment.
And for the amendment, it's been seconded, so we'll just do a roll call on the amendment.
Vice Chair Waldstreicher.
Well, adopting the chairman's view of things and his frustration as well. I'm a yes.
Senator Sidnor.
I'm gonna have to stick with my friends in Prince George's and hope that they don't lose what they're trying to do. So no.
Senator West.
Tough. I'm going to trust the chairman's judgment, vote yes.
Senator Muse.
No.
Senator Folden.
Yes.
Senator James.
I share the opinions and good judgment of the chairman and vice chairman, so I'm a yes.
Senator Henson.
No.
Senator Love.
No.
Senator McKay,
Yes.
Senator Charles,
No.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Six, five. Amendment carries. No, you voted no, yeah. Yeah, of course you voted no. All right, motions for favorable with the amendment. Seconded, is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? Okay. House Bill 1222 passes with the amendment. All right, we're now going to go on to House Bill 503. That's Jamie.
House Bill 503 alters statutory provisions that govern collective bargaining rights for certain employees of the Baltimore City Sheriff's Office. The bill specifies that full-time sworn law enforcement officers and court security officers may seek recognition by the sheriff or the sheriff's designee in order to organize and bargain collectively in good faith with the sheriff or designee and the city concerning the following matters. One, compensation, including salary, wages, merit step increases, and those benefits determined, offered, administered, controlled, or managed by the city. Leave, holidays, and vacations, and hours, working conditions, and job security.
Motions for favorable. Motion seconded. All right. House Bill 503 passes unanimously. All right, we're now going to go on to House Bill. Josh, you ready for 55?
House Bill 55 expands the authorization to install and utilize speed monitoring systems on highways in residential districts with a maximum posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour to all local jurisdictions. Currently, it only applies to Anne Arundel, Montgomery, and Prince George's County. Any expanded use of speed cameras under the bill is subject to existing requirements relating to the enactment of local legislation and administration of programs.
Say it again.
I have a question on that one, please. I'm curious why, what, just 1 second, I apologize. So we have people that are in counties that already have this legislation in their counties, now moving a bill to impact the rest of the state when there hasn't been an ask by the rest of the state. Is that accurate?
I believe the sponsor of this particular legislation, I know the Senate sponsor is Baltimore County, who does not currently have this program.
Which one? Senator Brooks? Jackson and Rosa Pep, they both have it. And then what about Delegate Guyton? Baltimore County. So I guess my question is, why are we not doing this then for Baltimore County? We're trying to then force this on across the state when there's been no ask that I can see because for Frederick County, for Harford County, for areas west. I mean, locally, we're against that. I mean, we don't like that. That's not a policy, and I
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everybody in this body knows how I feel about cameras. But the belief behind this bill is similar as it was to the golf court bill, is that these keep coming up year after year. We add this county, we add that county, and this is just statewide authorization so we can cut down on a lot of these bills that we get time in and time out. And second, it's authorizing. If a local jurisdiction doesn't want it, as you're saying they don't, then they don't have to implement it. So I support this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And at the 11th hour here, neither the Baltimore County House delegation nor the Baltimore County Senate delegation has voted in favor of a Baltimore County-only bill, which they would have to if we limited it to Baltimore County. And therefore, if we did that, it would guarantee the bill's demise. So that's why it's a state bill, and the Baltimore County delegations have not voted on it one way or the other.
Shamari, can we do House Bill 915?
House Bill 915 establishes the Work Group on Aging Out of Foster Care to identify the types of resources available for youth who have aged out of foster care to help them achieve self-sufficiency, determine the effectiveness of currently available resources, and identify the challenges with current services and programs offered before a youth ages out of the system. It requires the work group to submit a report of its findings and recommendations by June 1st, 2027. The bill takes effect June 1st, 2026, and terminates June 30th, 2027.
Yeah, motions for favorable and seconded. Is everyone okay? Sure. Senator West has a question.
We had another bill, Ann Seacott has been out lobbying in favor of it, which also deals with foster care. Is it conceivable we could add the other bill onto this bill and send them both back to the House for passage as an amendment? Just amend the one bill onto this one?
I'll tell you, one, I mean, it's not prepared as an amendment. This late hour, it'd be close. I'd just caution against doing it.
Is it possible we could add the other bill onto the voting list and consider the other bill?
That's possible, yeah. Can you let me know what bill it is and then?
Yes, I will. I'll find it. Okay, so I won't propose that
Okay.
amendment.
It's been motion for favorable and seconded. Is everyone okay? House Bill 915 passes unanimously.
It's Senate Bill 658. Senate Bill 658. Senate Bill 658.
Passed HB 55, it's crossed with SB 45.
Actually, could I take that back? The House bill, the House crossfire bill has passed, and it's in this committee. It's House Bill 768.
7 what?
768.
Okay.
House bill passed, it's in the committee.
Just as a courtesy, real quick, let's go back to Senator Sidnor. What was the cross file for? Oh, yes, it's right below, sorry. All right, so we passed House Bill 55, and as a courtesy, let's pass Senate Bill 45, which is the cross file.
Are they in the same posture?
And they're in the same posture, so the motion's for favorable on HB 45. Senate Bill 45.
The one you didn't like. The Michelle Guyton bill. This is the Senate cross
So
file.
same row.
one.
Yeah.
So both.
Senate Bill 2, or House Bill 210.
House Bill 210 requires each county and municipal automated traffic enforcement program to submit an annual report to the Vision Zero coordinator with specified information regarding out-of-state automated enforcement citations.
It's been a motion for favorable. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative?
Yes.
All right, excellent. House Bill 210 passes unanimously. Just wait, give her a second. All right, so the motion is for favorable Senate Bill 965, which is the direct cross file for House Bill 210. Motion, second.
There is a small difference between the bills. The House
Motion to conform.
quarterly report to an annual report, so you would conform to the House bill.
Second. That will kill the bill. No.
All right, Senate Bill 965 passes unanimously as conformed to the House bill. All right, Shamari, House Bill 993.
House Bill 993 prohibits a governing body of a county or municipality from enacting a local law or ordinance that prohibits an operator from offering a property as a short-term rental solely because the operator is a lessee or sublessee of the property. However, the bill authorizes local governments to enact a local law or ordinance prohibiting an operator from operating more than one property in the jurisdiction as a short-term rental if the operator is a lessee or sublessee of the property. Short-term rental means a residential dwelling unit or a portion thereof, including an accessory dwelling, used to provide housing for less than 31 consecutive days. It does not include a hotel, motel, boarding house, student group, residential facility, fraternity or sorority house, or similar housing. Nothing in the bill may be interpreted as prohibiting a property owner from prohibiting or restricting the use of the property by a lessee or sublessee as a short-term rental, or 2, a county or municipal government from requiring an operator to register as a short-term rental. There are no amendments.
Motions for favorable have been seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? House Bill 993 passes unanimously. We're not going to take up the Senate bill, but I'll give you a second to record.
And so we would need to amend to conform to 993.
All right. Yeah. All right, so Senate Bill 666, as conformed to the House, passes unanimously. Now we're going to move on to House, fun fact, what's up?
Senate Bill 666 over the last 5 years. It's passed. Everyone wants to get that bill, but
666 always passes. I like it. It's because the senator from Prince George's blesses off on it, so it's. All right, we're now going to go, Jamie, with House Bill 1105.
Oh, you didn't get one? Chris, I'm sorry, I didn't suddenly awkward. Sorry. Sorry.
All right, so HB 1105.
This
This bill increases from 1 year to 3 years the statute of limitations for a civil suit for enforcement of a local consumer protection code for which equitable relief, a fine, or a penalty is provided. The statute of limitations begins to run when local authorities knew or reasonably should have known of the violation. There is one proposed amendment. The amendment would make the bill apply only in Baltimore City, would provide, the text of the statute would provide a civil suit for enforcement of the Baltimore City Consumer Protection Code for which equitable relief, a fine, or a penalty is provided shall be instituted within 3 years after Baltimore City authorities knew or reasonably should have known of the violation.
All right, moving to, now the bill's before you as amended. The motion, I'm sorry, yeah, motions were favorable with the amendment. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? House Bill 1105
Senator James has.
with the, oh, I'm sorry, Senator James. My apologies.
I'm not trying to slow this down, but, so this is the House bill. I remember I think a lot of us were simpatico on, maybe it was the Senate bill where we were worried about there being some integration between the various consumer protection enforcements in counties along with the Attorney General. So that bill was the Senate bill that we didn't move, and this is the House bill, but the House bill is now micro-focused on Baltimore City only. Is that the posture that we're in now?
That was Senate Bill 979 was the cross file.
979.
And that was introduced, it appears actually, it's in Senate rules, so it was introduced after. I don't think we actually had a bill hearing on it.
Okay, so what I
We
really
may have heard similar
It's
legislation
similar,
on it. Yeah.
but then we had a hearing on the House bill then, but
I believe we did,
where
yeah.
we talked about that idea of delegating and integrating, but instead of doing all that, instead we were just going to narrowly have it be Baltimore City for the moment.
Honestly, Senator, I'm not sure if that conversation during the hearing was for this bill or was for another bill.
Bill, I'm remembering this now.
Am I?
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't think it was this bill,
But it was
I do remember this.
consumer protection. I thought it was Delegate Embry's. Okay, this is a different bill. Never mind. Ms. Danahan again, and never mind again.
Bill, but I'm
You know,
Yeah.
sounds similar but different. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So House Bill 1105 with the amendments passes unanimously. All right, we're now going to go on to House Bill 523.
House Bill 523 requires that in order to docket or a complaint seeking to foreclose a mortgage or deed of trust on residential property must be filed within 10 years after the date of the last payment. Additionally, if a secured party commences foreclosure on acquired debt that was in default for 5 or more years prior to the acquisition, the secured party must present the documents generally required for a debt buyer or collector under 5-1203B of the Courts and Judicial Proceeding article with the order to docket or complaint. The bill takes effect June 1st, 2026. There is an amendment in your packet. The amendment deletes the provision on page 4, lines 25 through 29, that requires a secured party to produce those documents generally required for debt buyers, and it changes the effective date to October 1st.
All right, hold on. So there's been a motion to move the amendments and seconded. Senator Fulton, then Senator Henson, sorry. Henson was first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shamari, I was curious about the language surrounding the date of the last payment being the trigger point. I know that typically in a mortgage or in a foreclosure action, you're looking at the date of default, and I do see some language in the paragraph that was struck that has date of default. Typically, in the lending documents, the date of default is a fixed date in time that has a series of steps, and it's able to be legally defined. So you can more easily figure out what the date of default is as opposed to the last payment. What's the rationale on last payment as the language?
So that was language that was added to the House, or that was amended onto the bill by the House.
Okay.
I think that makes, that probably is a date sooner. Default is usually after some time after the last payment's been made. But I'm not sure why the House made that change.
Is there a definition for last payment? I know that sometimes when a person goes into default, then the lender will stop accepting payments. So like if a person says, I wrote a check, I put it in the mail, and I mailed it off to the bank, and then they're saying the date of my last payment was the date that I put that check in the mail. But then let's say the lender isn't taking any more payments because they've decided that the person's in default, so they're no longer accepting payments according to the trust document. So are we defining what a payment is when we look at the date of the last payment?
There's no definition in the bill, and I'm not aware of a definition for last payment. I think it would probably depend on the individual mortgages, how those documents define date of last payment, as you stated.
Okay. There's some other, a person could also have maybe a bankruptcy or some other things that they were working through at the same time as the foreclosure, and all of that other language triggers everything on the default. The bankruptcy statute says you have the certain right to cure the default. You have even different protections that are given to military service members when it comes to timelines that surround the date of default. And with the law or the bill not having date of default, but having the date of last payment and not having last payment defined, how would we reconcile those other protections and those other timelines and trigger points with last payment not being defined and everything else working off of the date of default?
I mean, I think in the bankruptcy example, they would probably go to how that's defined in the individual mortgage, but other than that, I'm not sure how they do that.
All right, can we do one thing real quick? Let's put a pin in this discussion for a second. I've got to get to just two other things, and we'll return to this discussion. So if that's okay with the committee, I got to. So there's House Bill 591, which is not on this list, but House Bill 591, and that's, Josh, just explain it's a local bill, but go ahead.
House Bill 591 prohibits in Wycomico County a person from standing in a roadway, shoulder, median divider, or intersection determined to be inherently dangerous by the county or a municipality in the county in consultation with the State Highway Administration. A citation under the bill would only be able to be issued if the inherently dangerous roadway, shoulder, median divider, or intersection has appropriate signs installed by the county or municipality, and those signs are installed in accordance with relevant regulations.
All right. So motions for favorable. Is everyone okay being forwarded, or we can do roll call? Just go ahead, Senator Stidnor.
I'm trying to pull the bill up, but if I remember this correctly, last year they had a more narrowly tailored bill. This one was a bit broader, so I remember having a concern of how it might be implemented. Well, first of all, is my premise correct? Was this a bill that was introduced last year and then broadened this year?
So it kind of does depend on how you define broad or narrow. So last year it was focused on solicitation specifically. It prohibited soliciting in the roadway. So it's sort of like broader and narrow at the same time. So this time it doesn't matter kind of why you're in the roadway. You're still prohibited from standing there. However, it's narrow in the sense that it only applies in those areas that the county has designated as being inherently dangerous and installed appropriate signage. So the prohibition is kind of broader in the sense that it applies even if you're not soliciting, but also narrower in the sense that it applies only in those inherently dangerous roadways.
Okay, thank you.
All right. It's a motion for a favorable and second. Do you want to do a roll call, or is everyone okay? What's up? Roll call, or is everyone okay? All right, everyone's okay. All right, so House Bill 591 passes unanimously. Now, we're now going to go to one other bill that's not on the list. It's House Bill 768. House Bill 768.
And 668.
Yeah. Oh, so you want to do?
He's 668 is St. Mary's.
That's the kind of companion.
The same.
Okay.
The same one, but different.
So House Bill
Hold
6.
on. So we're going to go ahead. Go. Good.
House Bill 668 is substantively identical to that Wycomico bill. However, it's for St. Mary's County.
Motions for favorable. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay being reported affirmative? Okay. Now 668. Yes. Yep.
Okay, I need a second. That was 668.
Yeah.
Did I give it back?
Do you have it down in pencil? All right, House Bill 768, 768.
House Bill 768 alters requirements for the Department of Human Services regarding benefits for children in its care or custody. Subject to the availability of funds, the Secretary of Human Services must establish and maintain a foster youth savings program. Within 60 days after a child enters the care of DHS and at other specified intervals, DHS must determine the child's eligibility and as appropriate apply for U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs benefits, Social Security income, and Social Security benefits. Effective July 1st, 2027, the bill alters the responsibilities of DHS when serving as a representative payee and requires DHS to conserve any federal benefits received on behalf of a child. The bill also makes technical changes.
Motion for favorable has been seconded. Senator Folden.
Yeah, I just have a question about, I see what we're trying to do here, but it's a pretty sizable fiscal note when it's saying the out years are like 739,000 a year. Can you answer that? Like, I just don't know, why is there so much?
So the effective date was moved from how it came in, and so it's been postponed to July 1st, 2027. That's probably why it goes up significantly. But I haven't talked to fiscal notes about that.
So the net impact is going to be around 350,000 a year by 30. Well, it's 350,000. 29,476 would be the net, I guess, after the federal funds are received. Is that what you're counting on?
May I? Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Ann Seacott on behalf of the Children's Advocacy Institute. We did work out the amendments with the department. The department supports this policy and worked with us to delay that impact, the fiscal impact. So that, as you see, it's well under 100,000 for the first year. Yes, beginning in fiscal 28, they will no longer take any of the young people's funds, the benefits, to pay for their foster care. And that's something that they support. The state will not.
Yeah, it's a good bill.
Okay. Okay. It's your bill? Oh.
And West. I mean, it's.
Well, that's not helping, but okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, there's been a motion for a favorable and seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? House Bill 768 passes unanimously. We're now going to go on to this is Josh, House Bills 1614.
House Bill 1614 authorizes the use of lane use control signal monitoring systems by the Transportation Authority on an authority highway to record and cite instances of motor vehicles in violation of state law entering or traveling in a lane over which a red lane use control signal is shown. There is an amendment in your packet. It is number 553424/1. This limits the application of the bill to the Bay Bridge.
like to move the amendment. It's been seconded. Now the bill's before you as amended. Motions for a favorable. It's been seconded. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative? Sorry. Yep.
Saying that the fiscal note, it's saying that it could be significant. Did they give any other, that this could be a potentially out-year significant impact? Non-budget expend? Can someone, like, I'm just asking.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that's the revised fiscal note, and the amendment that we just adopted puts it back in its original posture, so you should go back to the original fiscal note. Because that's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that one either, but since it's narrower, that is often not.
Yeah, it's just the Bay Bridge.
Literally.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. So House Bill 1614 as amended passes unanimously. We're now going to go back to House Bill 523. I think there's a pending amendment open, but discussion was happening. Senator Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shamari, I wanted to clarify the question surrounding the last payment. If a person sent off a payment in the mail and they were trying to make a payment on the loan and they sent it off in the mail, what would be the date of the payment? Is it like some statutes that say it's the postmark for the time that you send it off, or is it the time that it's received, or the time that it's credited to the account? If the trigger point is the date of the last payment under the bill as it's written, how are we calculating the payment specifically?
So the bill doesn't define that. I think it would generally just go to whatever's in the mortgage documents as to how that would be calculated.
If the documents all reference the date of default for any sort of action to foreclose on the loan, and it doesn't reference the date of the last payment, how would we reconcile those two things?
I think, well, in the context of the bill, it probably would be used to determine, when the statute of limitations begins to run. And so, I think it's all going to probably depend on the individual circumstance.
Okay. And then as it relates to the bill being applicable, if a person enters into an agreement and they have their mortgage or whatever, this particular instrument, I guess this would be like a second mortgage or some sort of line of equity or second loan against the property, this would be altering those existing agreements and putting that limitation period in place for agreements that are already existing? So would it have that sort of retroactivity, or the effective date on the bill, does it mean that it would be effective for every loan that's written after the effective date of the bill?
That's a very good question. I think generally without any retroactivity provision, in uncodified or codified provisions, the assumption is going to be that it's prospective. And so it would only apply going forward as opposed to then existing mortgage documents, because then you may run into constitutional problems with interfering with contract rights or vested rights. And so if the committee wants to be clear, then maybe we should state specifically exactly how we would want that to operate.
Mr. Chair, could we, I would love to be able to work with Shamari on some amendments for that. I think those constitutional rights are important to protect and to not have ambiguities in the way that it's enforced and applied. And then also making sure that the date of default is reflected in the trigger point for how the statute of limitation is calculated. Those timelines are very specific. I wouldn't want, a lot of lending and loans has a lot of federal regulations that layer on top of them. Also, a lot of these lending institutions are federal institutions as well. And if we have language that's not in parity with the language that they have, I wouldn't want Maryland to become a market where it's less attractive to have these sort of features available to people who may have equity in their home that they want to borrow against, or who may want to be able to use these sort of documents or vehicles for lending, but might not be able to have those opportunities if what we have is date of last payment, and then we've not defined what the payment is. If payment means I write a check and I put it in the mail, and in my mind, that means last payment. But for the lender, that last payment might mean whenever they're accepting the payment. And if a person has failed to make payments and they're in default, they may no longer be accepting payments. So we would need some clarifying language on what that means so that that date is specific and clear, particularly if we're tying it to a limitation period that didn't exist before the bill, and we're going to prohibit them and time bar them from being able to pursue their claim. We certainly would want to make sure that that time frame was very, very clear. So I think given the constitutional implications of vested rights and then time barring a claim based on a trigger point that is not fleshed out in the bill or in just general understanding could mean some very different things. I would like an opportunity to work on that.
So the Senator asking for a hold to work on amendments? Okay.
Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think there's a motion and a second on the table on this bill. I think we did that originally. And since this is a House bill, as we talked about last week with the bill that I wanted to amend, and we went through it, this is a House bill and it can be amended on third reader.
So the Senator is right. There has been a motion to adopt the amendments before us. It's been seconded. So is everyone okay to adopt the amendments? Okay, now the bill's before you as amended.
Move it as amended.
Motion.
To be heard.
I'm sorry. Senator Henson.
I think that our rush to adopt the amendments strike some very valuable language, Mr. Chair. The amendments would strike language that gives people the opportunity for some upfront notices from the lender before the loan is foreclosed on. And so our rush to adopt those amendments just obliterated the ability for people to get those notices up front. So instead, they would then have this ambiguous date that is the date of last payment that may mean something very different to the borrower than it does to the lender. And then now with the amendment, we have taken away people's ability to get that notice up front that would have existed in clause E1 and then move forward. I think that, yes, I could draft an amendment and add it on in third reader, but I think the ability to work with counsel would give me the ability to make a stronger and better amendment. But certainly I could tap out something on my laptop and send it in to bill drafting. But I think what we just saw with the rush to adopt that amendment is that that's probably not the best way to make policy that has this level of significance.
You know, that language, that change in the bill, I wasn't sure what the impact would be, quite frankly. I worked out a set of amendments with the proponents on this, and my primary concern of the lending community, mortgage lending community, was the 5-year provision and having a June 1 effective date. I saw that other change. I wasn't really sure. I discussed it with staff for the House bill sponsor. They said that they thought the Attorney General thought that was a better term than using the date of default. You know, I would just wanted to point out that in every foreclosure in the state of Maryland, you must file a notice of intent to foreclose 45 days before you file the foreclosure. And that notice of intent to foreclose is going to have all the information in it. The borrower is going to have that information. I'm not sure, if you look at some other statutes under other provisions in the code, where there is a statute of limitations, and we've modified the statute of limitations a number of times for different kinds of transactions. I don't know, I'm trying to think if we did it specifically for lending transactions or not. I don't know whether it's triggered by the date of default or the date of last payment. You could have other things other than a payment which theoretically could trigger a default under a loan, particularly a mortgage loan. Maybe you don't have insurance. Maybe you haven't paid the taxes. Those are all also elements of default. Frankly, I'm happy. I didn't object to that change in the bill when I saw it. I've discussed it with the sponsor's staff, and you know, I'm just not sure what the impact of that change is. I guess now that I think about it, the only concern I have is that you could have other things that would trigger a foreclosure other than just a payment default. So I'm not sure what the answer is, quite frankly.
Here's what we'll do. It's a House bill subject to amendment on third reader. My compliments to the stakeholders, because they have worked diligently to come up with some semblance of an agreement. And so what I'd like to do then is we put it to a roll call vote or not. I'd like to advance the bill, continue those discussions as amended. Senator Folden.
So that's what I was going to ask. If the amendment that we put on there, and we're still moving it forward, if the amendment that we put on there creates potentially a conflict for what the senator from the capital city is saying, then would it be, since we're going to seemingly, I guess, move this with the idea that because of constitutional concerns as well as concerns that the senator highlighted, would it be appropriate just for us then to withdraw that amendment at this time, pending that more codifying and appropriate language, so that we're not removing something and then adding it and doing, like, why wouldn't we just leave it in the posture that it was moved from the House and then allow the opportunity for that amendment to be crafted, and then if there's any movement, but I think that whoever made the motion to move the amendment, maybe if they could recall their amendment, then we could just move it as it came over and allow the senator from the capital city the opportunity to craft up some sound legal language that's going to not be unconstitutional.
If I could, Senator, this is an important bill. I've spent an awful lot of time working on it. Once again, I have no problem with the 10-year statute of limitations that goes into effect on October the 1st. My big objection was this 5-year provision, which I didn't just have seen that anyplace.
I understand that, but if I'm, and I don't want to speak for the senator from the capital city, but it sounds to me like council says there's potentially unconstitutional conflict.
Just as maybe as applied.
Maybe.
As applied.
Maybe as applied.
Yeah.
So we don't normally get council saying that maybe as applied, you know, it's unconstitutional. So I'm just going to say, like, that's what we in police work call a clue. Like, pay attention. So if the good senator from the capital city is saying that there's a concern with that, it's not saying that it can't still be introduced on the floor, but if it's easier to craft and amend without having to now go back and look at how it's been amended to make sure that like right now it's clean as it is, I would give the opportunity, I would urge to, you know, whoever it was, withdraw that amendment and give the opportunity, and it can still move. It can still be added on second or third reading.
Here's the decision point. I mean,
Could I just say?
Yeah, go ahead on the merits of it, but then the decision point is this, regardless of what you say, is that we have to, just listen, because because the amendment is a product of a lot of work and compromise, the bill cannot advance absent the amendment. Okay, so if you all want to hold the bill here until something else can be worked out, that's the decision point. It's either.
Would you say the bill cannot?
I cannot advance a bill that has been the amendments that have been attached, the product of a lot of deliberation.
Without the amendment?
Without it, because that amendment's the product of a lot of stakeholder engagement and consensus. So
I'm not trying to hold the bill up. If that's what you need, then.
I don't, you know, this is a committee product here, but I want to say that, like, if there's hesitancy with the amendment, then the bill needs to remain in committee until that's done, because I can't let this bill out of committee absent those amendments. But go ahead, Bob.
If I could, look, it's my clients are the one that's affected by having, there's no statute of limitations whatsoever under Maryland law today for a foreclosure. None. Never has been. My clients are the affected parties, and they agreed to a 10-year statute of limitations, as long as we had time to adjust to it. Senator, I would suggest that if there's a question about whether it should be the date of default or the date of payment, then strike that from the amendments and pass the rest of the amendments, which strike the 5-year provision, which I found troubling, and having a June 1 effective date. And then if we can work out the language, come up with something that satisfies the good senator from Anne Arundel and satisfies everybody else, great. If we can't, then it's up to you all to make that decision to see if you want to offer an amendment or not on third reading. You could, but I personally, for my client, would like to see the bill go through without the 5-year statute and with an October 1st effective date.
Mr. Edlin? Look, I appreciate your words, and I really find them very inspiring. And being that we're on this final day of sine die, can you repeat what you just said? No. No, I'm just kidding. I was hoping you'd suck a little more time, buddy. Take it out. It's fine. It's fine. No.
What, this is,
He was on the Environment and
Yes.
Transportation
Filibuster
Committee and the
now.
Real Property Subcommittee.
do you hear that sound? Every second we tick, it's a bill that dies.
That's what I'm saying. That is the tick.
All right, so
That is the tick.
right, so
No.
is there a motion on the amended bill?
All right, so moved. Sorry.
Second. All right. Is everyone okay being recorded in the affirmative vote?
No, but I will continue to work.
Understood. That's great. Yeah. That's how we get good product. So, all right.
The House is the only one that got a chance to move.
Yeah. Sorry. Let's do the Senator Charles, and that's Senate Bill 353. All right. Conform. Second. Everyone's good.
Can Mr. Renton come back in and explain why?
Explain it again. All right, that concludes the voting session for now. See you on the floor.
Charles said no.